Welcome TVR Universe, I am Dave. In this week's live tutorial, we will be looking at lighting. We'll be experimenting with different angles, the best lighting to use. We're going to be talking about floodlights, we're talking a bit about how you can best use sunlight, spotlights, and so much more. It's going to be lots of fun, it's probably going to be a bit crazy, and it's going to be absolute value and hopefully solving your problem when it comes to how best to light your videos. I'm Dave from TVR Creators, and I make weekly YouTube tip videos and lighting and all sorts of audio and sound. And if you want to learn about cameras and all this jazz to do with content creation, subscribe now, hit the like button and ring the bell to get all our latest value for you guys. So without further ado, let's crack on with this live stream. It's boom. Now, as you can tell, for those of you that are here on a regular basis, I have made it a bit different tonight. So tonight I've literally got lights everywhere. So let's experiment and let's have fun. Here he is. Hey, welcome to the green room, Brad. Now, first off, I just want to explain to you what I've got here in the studio tonight. So at the moment, I've got a spotlight here, which is brighten up my face to make it look quite natural. I feel a bit dazed because I've got so many lights at me and my eyes are hating it. I've got a really awesome floodlight, which I'll perhaps talk about a bit more later. I wanted to move this around for you, but being brutally honest, I just don't have the room to sort of do that. But I will show you how effective that is, and especially if you're using your phone or a camera, and the lighting you can get is brilliant. Let me just show you an example of what your video could look like if you use a floodlight. Well, you get the idea. Also, after this live stream, check out any of my Tuesday videos and you'll see how good the lighting does look when you do it, you know, put it in the right position. Now, the first thing I would highly recommend before you do any of this is think about sunlight. It's massively important to use what you have, and if for those of you that don't have lights already, there's nothing wrong with using the sunlight. Now, if you're recording indoors because for whatever reason you don't want to film outside, we all start indoors, or most of us do, I'd highly recommend a nice sunny day if possible, and try and record near a window. Maybe if you've got a room where there's multiple windows, try and get as many of them as open as possible, and if it's sunny outside, you'll get the best light for your camera or phone. But just sort of bear in mind that if the lighting isn't great, you can obviously turn on house lights and stuff, but just bear in mind that doesn't always give the best light. If you want to sort of cheat a little bit, I would highly recommend getting yourself a energy saving bulb, because they give off a sort of more natural white light, and the camera and your phone will light that more. So that's something to bear in mind. Also bear in mind that for those of you that are into editing on your phones or on your computers, etc., you can play around with contrast and brightness and all this sort of jazz. But just, you know, if you haven't got the best lighting in the world, it will be quite fuzzy or busy, as some people say, and it won't look that great. Now, just, you know, as long as you've got great audio, that's a plus, but obviously I'm not talking about audio today. But, you know, if you can, you know, what I like to do is I like to make the video as professional looking as possible, light it as well as possible, and that's how I want to show you here today. So if I just turn off this spotlight, you can see straight away the difference. I'm much darker, and you know, the camera is actually struggling a little bit to get enough light to give me a flow. So as you can see, I look a bit laggy. Now bear in mind this is on a webcam, so it will happen like that, but just by adding extra light, you can see straight away that the camera's like, oh, I've got more light to play with and I can give a better picture. Now also bear in mind, if you're recording on your phone or camera, it will look much better than this, though on your phones it will still look quite good. But just bear in mind, if you compare it to this, you know, it's going to look far better on your phone or camera. Now, so a little power tip actually I'll share you guys, for those of you in the green room, as I sometimes like to say, that wear glasses like me, a little tip I would share with you. I'm going to use this light now, so let's turn this one off, and I'm going to turn Do I dare turn the big one off? I might be in the dark, bear with me. Hey, he's in the dark. Look how fuzzy, the camera really does not like that. Let's fix the problem as soon as possible. Now let's just have a play around with lighting then. So if you've got lights, you know, over there, something you might want to play around with is actually if you've got a white wall or a bright wall, you could reflect a light off that and it will give like a more softer light. Now sadly the webcam doesn't do the best job in the world for this. I'm going to leave a link in the description and may add it in the end cards, etc., of a video that compares natural light to studio light, and you'll get better examples, so look out for that later in the video. But if you can see, if I just bring the light in and reflect, I'm just looking off my screen, you can sort of see that you get a softer light. Now bear in mind, if you have the light facing you, obviously it's going to be much more harsh. Now if you're using your phone and or camera, the sensors on them are far superior to a webcam and it will look really good. So if you have the, bear in mind my face is here, hopefully it looks better, I'm just trying to see how it looks on there for you. So if you have the light sort of side on, I'd highly recommend having one to one side, perhaps another one on the other side, and you'll get this really nice even balance. Now if you want to make it a bit more interesting, you might turn off one and you'll have that sort of, you know, and you'll have a bit of light, sorry, on one side. You'll have some nice light on one side and maybe the other side look a bit darker. That might go for the look that you're going for in your films. That's something to bear in mind again. If you're getting value so far from this video, smash the like button and consider subscribing. Get value. Woohoo! Absolute value. So if you want to film a interesting shot, you want to make it look as professional as possible, I would highly recommend getting yourself a studio light. And I just use one on literally all my Tuesdays videos, and I've turned off all the other lights, and you can sort of see it looks a bit hazy on the webcam. Let's try and see if we can fix that. But just bear in mind, if you're using a camera or phone, I know I keep saying that, but it's true, it just looks really good, as you see here. So you get this much more natural light. It just looks so much more professional. And you're probably thinking, why is this all so important? All this light. Well, if you don't do that, then the truth is when you come into editing, you have to waste a lot of time. And there's nothing wrong with you pro editors, and I do it myself, a bit of color correction, play around with lighting levels and stuff like that. But if you can light as good as possible before you get to editing, it just makes your job much easier. And that's something that's really important. So if you can light your videos as well as possible, it just makes your life easier. So when you come to edit, you don't have to mess around for hours playing around with different effects and trying to make it brighter. And sometimes I find if the lighting's poor and you try and increase the brightness, it then just makes it look like it is at the minute, makes it look a bit foggy. You know, if that's the shot you want, then fair enough. But, you know, you want your film or video to look as professional as possible, and that's very hard to do, you know, if it's sort of all over the place. So I'm just going to put this light up sort of a bit more back, and I've done like that just to sort of show the studio. And I'm just going to bring this light over here a second. So I've got a lot of cables here. I'm trying to do it so it does like crash bam everywhere. I need a bigger studio. So you can see here, it just sort of lights up nicely. So, you know, perfect scenario, you know, one light one side, one the other. And perhaps having one in front of you could be good as well. But I find sometimes that just blinds me. And also, going back to that power tip I was sharing earlier, if you do wear glasses and you have a light directly in front of you, you'll get this really annoying... you just can't see, so you'll get this really annoying like glare on your glasses, and it's just really irritating as the light doesn't want to stand now. That's good. No, it doesn't want to stand now. That's good. Wow, live TV, love it. So anyway, let's just go with that, 'cause that's fine. So as you can see, it's really interesting to play with the lights. Now, if you can get one above you, that's really good as well. I would highly recommend playing around with the type of mood that you're going for. It makes a massive difference when it comes to filming your videos. If you want something spooky, then I would highly recommend doing something like this. So if you want something spooky, let's just Let's bring this down. Now, you're probably thinking, what is one of these? I have links to the floodlight and to these spotlights in my description. So, by all means, go and check them out. They're all there. They only cost about £50 each for a set of 2. So let's just turn this off a second. Let's turn this on. There's just too many things to turn on and off. Okay, so what's really cool about this then? So if you're doing a creepy shot, for Halloween, you might be like that. Ooh. You'll be like, oh, now to be fair, it looks more like God. So if we bring it up, that'd be a really nice light. That looks really cool, actually, doesn't it? So you've got the light just above us. And another little power tip, if you are using a webcam, I find much smaller soft lights, like the spotlight that I'm using in a minute, are much nicer. So perhaps I need to look at an arm or bracket to maybe get one of these to just shine brightly on me. Now, the last few weeks I've just been using the house light, which is fine. But it doesn't look particularly great, but I just find it easier on my eyes as well. And especially when these live streams can go on for quite a while, it's something to bear in mind. But if you can get one of these spotlights, if you're using a webcam at least, and get it above, it's probably about a foot above my head at the moment, it looks like God himself is shining on me. It just looks really cool. It's like, look at me, dear man. And it just gives this really cool effect. And if you want to do something creepy, you could bring it down like duh, and all this sort of thing. You could do it underneath you. That could be the shot you're going for. Perhaps that looks scarier. So we're doing ghost stories at night time. And funny enough, I'm going to be playing around with lights actually this weekend, as I'm planning to film a sort of Halloween ghost story that will come out next Tuesday. But if you could see, you'd be like, look, the story of Christmas past, that sort of thing. And, if you want to go with that sort of look as well. Something else to bear in mind, if you just want to go for a normal shot, annoyingly, you can't really see it on the webcam, but by all practice, with any sort of light that you've got, if you've got it on sort of a slight angle, facing you, actually, what's really cool about these spotlights, actually, which I've just remembered, is you can actually tone down the brightness. So we can tone this down. So this might actually help a little bit with the poorness of my webcam. So if you can sort of see now, that's actually quite cool, isn't it? So I'm just looking on the screen, so I can be like, hello. And if you go on a sideline, if I'm looking at the camera now, you can see it probably looks fairly normal. And as I move the light around, it goes for different shots. Now, if I'm using the floodlight, I always have it on about an angle on the side of me, and it gives this really nice sort of light on one side of my face. I wish I thought of this earlier. And what's really cool, so you get this nice light. It makes it a bit darker to the other side, but I like that look. And you'll probably see, for those of you that have watched my Tuesdays videos, it makes it look more professional, more film-like, and just looks more interesting. And then obviously I would highly recommend one of these spotlights, perhaps, or something similar for the background. You may know that most weeks I have 1 or 2 spotlights in the background, different colours, and they come with different coloured gels. And what's really cool about that, I tend to have like a blue and a red, just because it's just different, a bit more interesting. I'm debating about mixing up a bit, but it comes with white, which is a bit pointless because without the gel it's white anyway, but it comes with blue, amber and red, so it's quite nice. You can play around with different lighting, but it's really cool actually. So the fact I can turn the brightness down is something for me to bear in mind when I'm filming in the future. So, if I've got a light here, so just whack the other one. Obviously, if I'm doing filming, I'm not moving lights around as I'm shooting, so you got to bear that in mind. You get the lights exactly how you want them. You do actually get the shot you want, and as you can see, it just gives this really nice light. So feel free to put in the comments below what lights that you use. It'd just be really interesting to see. And if you haven't already, consider liking and subscribing to this video if you're getting value. So let's sort of bring up the light in a bit, just so we can. What do you reckon? About like there? Does that look good? I might turn this one on. There we go. And I'll turn this one off. Obviously, I wouldn't normally do this in live streams, but I just thought I'd get a bit of light in there. There you go, a bit of lighting going on. Anyway, I've got some questions, actually, that come through. If you're getting value, smash the like button. Oh, yeah, value. Got some questions, actually, that a few people have asked me on Twitter this last week. So let's just have a look at them. You got any live questions? Pop them in the live chat. All right, so the first question good lighting light. What is that really the question? Good lighting light. I think it means what's a good light. I think that's what it means. So basically, I personally would recommend if you're using a phone or a camera, like I said earlier, I would highly recommend getting yourself a pair of floodlights. If you've got the room, use both of them to get the best lighting. You can move them around and experiment. You know, don't copy me or other creators or filmmakers. Be inspired by filmmakers and creators, of course, but try and find your own style. You know, position them how you were. I've spent probably the last year or so constantly moving around my light to get it exactly how I want, and now I've got this really nice feel that I like for my main videos. Obviously, you know, you could get one of those little oval ones. Just bear in mind, if you have glasses like me, then you want to put it off to the side. But if you don't, you can experiment with any angle you want and just go with the look that's best for you. Another question I got is, can you use a spotlight? Well, yes, you can. You can get those really cool circle lights that are quite effective. Some of them come with grips that just clip onto your phone and stuff like that, or clip onto a tripod, which are really nifty. Just be careful though, because I have noticed quite a few of them are quite short tripods, so you might have to get a bigger tripod. Just something to bear in mind, or just see how high it is, because you know you might be working next to a desk or table, so you could just put it on top of that. Just see what's right for you. They don't cost very much, so £10-20 or dollars. So you know, if they you know, if you're not 100% happy with them, don't worry too much, because you can always save up and, you know, get a better light down the road. Another question: a good horror light. That's an interesting question. What would be a good horror light? I would say it's less about the light and more about the angle. So as we experimented earlier, you know, if you've got like a light underneath you, could be like or you know, a light above you, that looks quite creepy, doesn't it? And you can experiment, you know, what looks better on your camera or phone. And also bear in mind that in the editing you can play around with different colours. You don't have to have gels and different bulbs or lamps on your lights. You can just literally have you know, film a normal shot, play around in post. Just to bear in mind, actually, if you do get one of these floodlights, I highly recommend them. I know a few of you have already got a couple. They come with these massive bulbs, or lamps, as they're properly called, and they're brilliant. And I must admit, they're quite expensive. You need to replace them, but I've been using this now for must be 2 or 3 years, I think, and I've not needed to replace it yet. And as I only use one of them, I can always grab the other bulb if this one goes. So it could be a long time, fingers crossed and touch wood, before I have to buy any bulbs for them. And they're quite high as well. Just check. I believe the link I've left in my description, they're about sort of 6 foot or a bit higher. I think about 6'5", something like that, which is quite a nice height. If possible, I find if you can get it above your head, sort of looking down, I don't know, it just makes it look more professional. You'll see what I mean when you're experimenting and that sort of thing. If you have any live questions, throw them in the chat, feel free. You know, so that's, you know, something else to bear in mind. And if you're filming outside, actually, you might want to experiment with sunsets and sunrises. If you've got a really good camera, you might want to play around with low light. I personally would say, if you're not a film expert or you're unsure how it's going to look, I've learned the hard way. I would perhaps film in normal light, you know, just on a normal day. And then if you want to make it darker and stuff, you can edit that in post. Perhaps that's a video I could perhaps do in the future. Because if you try to film in low light and then it comes out rubbish, and for whatever reason you can't quite get the same atmosphere to film it again, or for whatever reason, depending on what type of video you filmed, it will be very difficult to you know, recreate that and fix it. So if you've got a very busy or fuzzy shot, it looks a bit naff, then sadly there's not a lot you can do about it, unless you're like a pro editor and, you know, you do a lot of color correction. But even then, you know, it probably won't look great unless, you know, you've got a professional editor. So I personally would, you know, go with my original thought of, if you can light your shot as good as possible, it just makes for a far better video. So that's something to, again, bear in mind. So anyway, there's lots of things to think about then. So if you're using floodlights and spotlights and, different angles and stuff like that, they see it as like the faithful triangle, one to the front. Sometimes I've seen sort of one either side facing forward, and even sometimes I've seen creators have them behind them. That looks quite cool as well. A friend of mine from college, Perry, go and check out his channel, Perry Manning. I've seen him do quite a few videos with a couple of these floodlights behind him. It actually looks really cool. It's almost like he's on a stage or something. So, I think sometimes it's our own creativity. It's very easy just to turn the light on and hope for the best. And I've made this mistake as well, that sometimes, if you just go the extra mile, be a bit more creative, you can create some really cool shots. And that's something that I'm still learning now. So I just thought I'd sort of share that with you. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful. If you've got any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. And I hope you guys like and subscribe to this video. So anyway, have an absolutely great day. Have a great weekend. And again, feel free to check out our merch if you want to support the brand. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and feel free to knock in the comments of any types of videos you'd like to see in the future. I know I have seen one or two. I think Binge-Worthy Gaming was on about maybe doing a contrast between the M100 and the M50. That's a video that I'm considering. And I also want to do a little shout out to Leslin, because I know a very good friend of mine, he's watches these videos week in, week out, so thank you to you. And also to you, Brad, who's literally like the secret director, who's always hinting at me on the TQ to say, come on Dave, do the best you got. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'm Dave from TVR Creators, and I make weekly camera reviews, audio and lighting videos to help you grow here on YouTube. My voice is just gone, so if that sounds interesting to you, subscribe now. Anyway, have a great weekend, make it so, and as always guys, you guys rock.